What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be doing a little build on a rack for my truck to transport gases. I've been needing to do this for a while, and just kind of getting it done a little sketchy. Transporting my bottles around. They've all been small bottles so far, and now I'm going to be transporting some larger bottles and doing it more frequently, so it's time to build a rack. So it's been a pretty wet weekend so far. Yesterday we had some nice weather, but you know, we've been getting this late rain in the season, so it's a perfect day to you know, spend in the shop and just get a few things done that I've been putting off for a long time. You know, before the weather gets too nice and I just want to be, you know, on the lake or whatever. So anyway, I got some nice drop, some square tubing drop that I got, and it already has some 45s on it and stuff, so it should be a pretty easy build putting this together. So anyway, that's what we're going to be doing today. So I got this 3x3 120 wall, all this this drop that somebody gave me. So it's pretty heavy for what I'm doing, but you know, can't beat free material. So I'll take it, and it'll just be kind of heavy putting it in and out of the truck, but should be all right. So now I just got to cut it all to size. Already got. Some of them are already the same size, so I'll just need to cut a few more to the same length as these three. You know, to have a rail come out this way, come over, and then some pieces to go in between, and should be good to go. Always wear the proper PPEs. It helps if you have one of these that you can actually see out of too. All right, so I got all my pieces cut now for the frame at least. And now basically I've just got to do all the prep. So I'm gonna take all these and deburr the edges, and also just, you know, grind away the mill scale from any areas that I'm gonna be doing my welding, so that I get nice clean welds that be free of contamination.
A few moments later.
Got all the pieces prepped now. Took a little bit to do that. So not only deburred them, but then also put a little bevel on the pieces that are gonna go together like a flat butt joint. And they're gonna fit up like this. put a little bevel in there so that you know, it gets some penetration down into the joint, and so it'll flatten out that bead quite a bit. And now ready to start tacking up the frame. So I'm getting ready to start tacking up the individual parts of the frame, but I wanted to talk a little bit about my machine here, which I recently got this Vulcan Omnipro 220, and it's a multi-process machine. You know, do DC, TIG, MIG, and stick, and Vulcan is the new version that Harbor Freight put out, and it's pretty impressive actually. I never thought that I would ever buy a welder from Harbor Freight, but I wanted a MIG welder that you know, at least a 200 amp MIG welder, because I have my beast here, which is my TIG and stick welder. I didn't have the capability of doing MIG welding, and so I wanted about a 200 amp machine that I could use for MIG welding here in the shop, but also to have a mobile unit that I could go out and do work, do side work, you know, and it be a mobile unit. So this machine, being that it's multi-purpose and multi-process, was very attractive, and it was pretty cheap. I mean, compared to what I would have spent with any of the you know, higher name brands. Miller is, you know, I'm usually a Miller guy. This was quite a bit. I mean, way less than half. So it's a pretty big difference, and I'm actually pretty happy with it for you know, the amount that I use it. It's worked out pretty good. So anyway, I just wanted to show what my settings are going to be here. So I've got it set for MIG C25, so it's you know, CO2 25%, 75% argon. Just hit enter there. It basically tells you how to set up your polarity here. Your ground clamp is set to negative. Your electrode, you know, your MIG gun would be hooked to positive, which means that you're using positive polarity, direct current electrode positive, what's known as reverse polarity. And then this has it set up by the thickness of material and the diameter of your wire. So I'm using 035 wire, and then the thickness of my material is about 1/8 inch wall, about 120 wall. So that would be between 10 and 12 gauge, something like that. So I'm going to set it for 10 gauge here. Hit confirm, and that gives me about 17.5 volts, 201 inches per minute for 10 gauge steel is what they recommend. And then what the machine you know, is preset for, and then I can make my own adjustments here. So for tacking, I'm going to turn this up a little bit. I'm going to turn up my voltage, say about 18.2. I'm going to keep my wire feed speed about the same, and maybe I'll turn up my wire feed speed a little bit here. Oops. Turn it up to about 210 for wire feed speed, and I'll see how that sounds. And the reason why I want to do that is I just want a nice concave you know, tack, a good hot tack, but I don't want you know, a lot of convexity to my tacks. I want them to be nice and flat and smooth, so that when I weld over them later, they're going to be I'm not going to be able to see big humps in my weld. So that's why I'm going to set it up that way. So all right, so we'll get started here. What'd you find?
Deer school.
Oh wow.
Something ate it.
Yeah, something ate it for sure.
Oh, that hurts.
That's pretty cool.
Huh?
So as I'm going around, I'm just trying to get things as square as possible. Putting a square in there and just making sure that everything's square so that it's gonna line up on this side. this side moved in when I tacked it because I tacked it on the inside, which will pull it in. I should have tacked it on the outside first. So I've got to make a little adjustment. So I'm going to cut the tack on this side. Much better. So not too bad. I changed the settings, went quite a bit cooler on these groove welds. They were just getting real hot, so changed it up a little bit. Ended up at 16.2 and 170, which seems to be okay. Seems to be plenty hot enough. And I'm probably going to go a little bit higher though, probably back to those original settings for the fillet welds, because you can handle a little bit more heat with the fillet weld, and you know, it's going to need a little bit more wire feed speed to fill it up. So. Looking pretty good. bad. So I did crank it back up a little bit. I'm at 17.8204 for the fillet welds. Worked out quite a bit better. So final product here, looking pretty good. It's really freaking heavy, so it's gonna need some handles so that me and my boy can put it in the back of the truck. Way heavier than it needs to be, but it'll do the trick, and it was the right price. So anyway, thanks for hanging out on this little journey, and we'll see you next time.